Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Teach, Sleep, Repeat. My name is Dylan.
And my name is Hayden.
How you doing, Hayden?
I am very, very well.
Do you know why I'm very well this week?
I didn't ask if you very well.
Well, I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm extremely well because of the crazy boom in listeners that we've had.
No, right?
This year. We were like 2025. We're gonna continue to grow. We're gonna continue to widen our horizon. Oh my goodness, we did that and some. So welcome if you're a brand new listener. It's brilliant to have you. If you're a listener who's been around for a while, we haven't forgotten you. We appreciate you. But, you know, it's still exciting to see us grow and grow. So thanks for listening. If you're brand new, one thing I'm going to ask you to do right away at the start. We don't have a sponsor or anything. We're not there yet. Okay, let's be real. So all I want you to do is leave us a review and share the podcast with someone who you think might find it useful. But Hayden, we're two teachers, just two fellas, teaching in primary school, plodding along as you do. How's your first week back?
All right, Mr. Radio Host. The most perfect intro out there. Not even scripted. Off the dome. Oh, we've got new listeners now. I better actually be good at this.
Listen, just because last week you started off by completely mocking me and rinsing me.
If you're new, if you've not listened to last week's, go and listen to last week's intro and tell me which one's better. What's better? Dylan's really, really well-worded introduction or me mumbling into the microphone? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining us and welcome if you're new. I've had a lovely first week back.
It's been nice, isn't it? It's nice.
It's been really, really good. We've had a nice week because we've actually had some time out to do our leadership as well.
Yep.
So anyone who doesn't know, we are maths leads at our school.
Yep.
And occasionally get a bit of time booked out to do that role. Would you believe it? Some teachers probably are thinking, no, I don't, because my school gives me nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy. The amount of teachers who lead subjects. Again, we have this weird tiered system in school, don't we, where we pretend all subjects are equally important ever. You can't possibly question, of course, all the subjects are just as important as all the other subjects, but only maths and English get time out or even the whiff of a TLR. If you lead geography, you might do that in your own time with no extra. It's just insane. But we happen to lead maths, which happens to come with a little TLR and a little bit of time out every now and then. And it's just the minimum you'd expect really leading this subject. But it's really nice. And we did get some time out, didn't we? And we actually went into a classroom to look at some times table stuff. So
that was our focus. We're looking at times tables, and one of the classrooms wanted us to get involved with that little times table competition. It was a year 6 class. It was very fun. They're extremely excited about the idea that we were going to sit there and do their 5-minute test. So basically they have a leaderboard and they race. Who can do all, I think it's 100, was it, times tables?
Yeah, 100 times tables.
100 times tables, the quickest. That's literally it. So we came in obviously thinking, whatever.
It's like a Top Gear grid, isn't it?
Literally.
Like racing times.
The stiggles on there somewhere. And we were like, yeah, we can smash this. Time is going down. Who is it? Who's that one kid in the class who goes, finished, done, puts his pencil down really loudly so everyone else knows they're done, done.
Oh, I think that was me.
Dylan.
I went in and I honestly, there was no mercy whatsoever in my head. I was like, these are year 6 now. They don't know their times tables. I'm going to set a time so unbelievably quick that there's no way they'll be it all year. And I'll just be whack at the top of there. And my heart was actually racing when I was doing it. So honestly, I was getting nervous. I don't know why. I was like, I really want to do the best time ever. And I did my 100 times table questions in 1 minute 32. So at that point, everyone's still writing, obviously, and I put my pen down and I did just go, done. And everyone was like, oh my God.
Even I was a bit like, I still had 2 rows left at that point. Honestly.
But the point being, we put it in, the teacher was there, she was just like, how'd you do it? Because she was top of her leaderboard, by the way. This isn't just us being competitive, like she's top of her leaderboard. And I put it in and you put yours in and I'm really smugly walking out. Like, okay. So Hayden and I went to a room a couple doors down, just a meeting room, to crack on making some a staff meeting slides.
Doing the actual work,
after 5 minutes of doing that. And then we just got a knock at the door. There's these 2 children. Hi, Miss says that you've got a next step and passed me my step. And I was like, oh my God, I'd got 8 times 4 wrong in the middle.
Yeah. You got 99 out of 100 and it only counts in their game if they get 100. So it incentivizes them to actually be accurate.
And those kids couldn't have been happier.
Yeah,
they could not have been happier.
Neither can I, because I'm now the winner. So I only beat the record by 2 seconds at 1 minute 50. Whereas you absolutely obliterated the record if you'd got it all right. So I'm quite pleased.
I didn't. Which I didn't.
You'll have to go back in next time.
I'd love to hear other teachers who are listening who have been ultra competitive with their class, because I just honestly, I can't show mercy to them. And it's like now we've got our children. I've always thought to myself, there'll be a day where your child beats you at something. And that'll be like a monumental day. But it's only a monumental day if you never let them win.
Yeah.
So they can get to literally 13, 14. And maybe at that point he'll beat me at football or whatever it is, or we'll play snooker together or something, or darts.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let him win until he actually beats me, so that when he does, he feels like unbelievable. I beat him.
I tell you what,
I beat him.
You are going to be gutted when Rory beats you in a sprint running race at 7 years old. I tell you, mate. I tell you, he's going to beat you. I'm going to put this bet out here now. Single digit age. That kid is going to beat you in a race, and you're going to be so annoyed.
He's getting quicker. I'm just getting slower.
Exactly.
He's getting slower.
It's like there was, a couple of years ago. No, last year, in fact, the year sixes in my class were like, oh, I could beat you in a race. I could beat you in a race. And all the way through my career, sort of 9 years in at that point. No, they can't. There's no kid at school that can run faster than me. Come on. I'm not that old yet, and I used to like running. Obviously,
You're
I can
in
beat
your
you
20s,
I can beat you in a race. And I raced a girl in my year 6 class who was like the runner of the class. There's always one. And I was like, oh, here we go. I said, wait for a day. I've got my trainers on. I'm not running in these. I'll slip over and break my knees or something. And and I started running, thinking, right, I wonder how much I'm going to give her. How much in front am I going to get? And by the end of it, I was sprinting as fast as I could, directly level with this kid. And I was like, oh my God, I'm only going to draw, and I'm trying the hardest I've ever tried to run. And it was at that point I realised I'm old.
Time to retire. Time to retire from that. It's when you
it.
see the ECTs now, like joining in on the playground, having a bit of football, being competitive. You're like, your time will come. Enjoy it while you can, young one, because these kids will beat you someday.
You're just sat there in your little rocking chair on the porch, of your classroom, looking at them.
For reference, I'm 31. I've got like 2 grey hairs on my beard. I'm like, you'll see, sunshine. You can't have the kids not beat you that long.
Oh, it's pathetic. Crazy. What are we doing?
It really is. But yeah, basically, don't just let the kids win. It feels better when you don't do that.
Yeah.
I've got one thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm a little bit bitter. I'm not going to lie. Ooh. Do I feel slightly wrong for feeling bitter about the fact that after having 2 weeks off, we didn't get a snow day, so I was slightly annoyed? Yes, maybe. Maybe that's a bit too far. But there's so many teachers listening now who had a snow day. I saw pictures of snowmen being built, and just teachers saying, oh, day off, can't get into school, I'm afraid. I just thought,
whatever.
Damn you. There's something special, I've got to say, about it snowing and you seeing children see snow. I've got a very brief story. I had a child join my class last year from India. Could speak English, went to an international school in India, so had good levels of English and could understand and could talk. So it wasn't EAL where you couldn't possibly even talk to the child.
Straight away.
And she joined, lovely girl, really got on with her. And it snowed last year. And when it snows, the kids get excited. It's cool. It's nice.
Yeah,
it's lovely. It's like, cool, let's look outside. It's snow. And she was like mesmerized by it. And she just turned to me and said, I've never seen snow in my life.
No way.
And it was the first time she'd ever seen snow. And I was just like, oh, that's special.
Shutting the blinds. Maths work, though. Come on.
Oh, but what's 6 times 4? But I guess there's a wider point here. And I wanted to highlight this because the children came in this week and said, oh, there's a weather warning for snow. I didn't really have the heart to tell them that it wasn't predicted to snow.
We live in the
here.
southeast, by the way. So we never get anything.
Well, there's been some snow in in Canterbury and stuff, but we are right on the corner of the coast and it barely snows here.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, maybe. And I want to know what your answer to this is, because one of the kids said to me, it was a half question, half statement. He basically said, when it snows though, right, if it does snow, right, we're just going to go outside, aren't we? Yeah, we're just going to drop everything and go outside. He literally said that. Like, of course we are. It's snowing. And then another girl said, yeah, of course it's snowing. Of course we're going to go outside, aren't we, Mr. Price? And I was like, my gut instinct is, yeah, of course we are. But then like another part of me thought, oh, like, I don't know, obviously people might not know how our school works. Every single classroom is like facing onto the playground. And the idea of just going out in the middle of English, it starts snowing. I was like, my gut is like, let's get these kids out. Like, it's snowing. It's going to do that how often? Let them just experience it and just stand in it and have a bit of playtime. Yeah. Because it's just nice. Because it's just fun and it's just lovely. And I thought, I don't know if I would actually, because then 15 other classes would see it and people might feel annoyed. Like, oh, that class is out. Why can't I be out? And I've got to tell my kids. And I feel like the Scrooge now because I want to carry on my kids doing their independent writing. I don't know what the right answer is. What would you say?
Well, okay, quick question for you first. Would you do it if other classes couldn't see?
Yes.
Okay. So I think there's your real answer. Isn't it? I think you're just being quite considerate. I think I guess of other teachers. I don't know. I guess I'm in the middle. If I'm in your exact situation, I can understand why you wouldn't, but I think I'd still do it because I'm kind of like, yeah, go over it though.
Yeah.
You guys don't want to do it? Okay. Well, I'm doing it because I think this is nice. It's like they get this once a year if they're lucky at our school. Of course, I'm going to let them go out in the snow. Yeah. And if you're not, come on, do your English later. Seriously, let them come out for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I'll going to the door. I'll get to the kids. I was right, go to every single classroom, knock violently on their window, and scream, "It's snowing." You know.
Do you think it's fair enough that another teacher might be annoyed?
I mean, it is fair enough. I am sort of saying that in jest, really.
But I'm genuinely wondering, like, because like you said, you're being considerate and stuff, but like, yeah, you should be considerate.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, right, you probably wouldn't really drop everything. You'd probably find a suitable place to stop in the lesson and then do it.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay,
So-
we're at this point now. There's not much I don't think that I wouldn't drop for.
No.
Like, if they were literally in the middle of doing something, there was 5 minutes left, I'd be like, well, let's finish this then.
Yeah.
And then go outside.
But what I mean is you wouldn't like in the middle of your sentence of input, you wouldn't be like, so, and then if we look at page 30, let's go outside. You would like, whereas for the other classes, they may well be literally in the middle of their 5-minute input. They're 30 seconds away from finishing. They just hook these kids in and then they see your kids running around.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, that's the worst possible timing for you to do that.
Yeah.
So I get it. But do you know what the compromise is? With our school, it's completely irrelevant for everybody else. Go to our field. Then no one can see us.
Then everyone can see us walk past in our, in our
Yes.
cats.
We're
and our
going
gloves.
to the nature area to write a story about a bug.
Yeah, just make out it's
As
fine.
you're making a snowball in your hand.
The bug is a snowball.
Right, really, yeah, literally, really important question for you. When you do in the past, when you have been out in the snow with the kids, do you have any rules?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, 100%. Like, what you don't want is the kids coming back with snow down their back. Like wet, like everywhere because they've just been jumping and doing snow angels.
Yeah.
The rules are almost common sense.
Yeah.
I do you know what I sometimes feel like as a teacher when I think to myself, well, this is common sense. I forget the kids don't have that.
They're not there. You are there, common sense.
Common sense is something you build up over time, and that's my role.
Can I tell you a really good example of this? Many years ago, a kid, we went out into the snow, and this is a complete lack of common sense here, right? Picked up a stone and said, "Can I roll this up in snow and throw it?" And genuine reasoning is like, because then it's got like it will be more likely to stay together. It's got a stone in it. I was like, just think for 1 second about what you're asking me to lob at another child's head. You are asking to chuck a stone at poor old Jimmy over there. He doesn't want a stone chucked at his head.
When you asked me, do I have rules? I was expecting rule 1 to be, we don't throw stones.
Yeah, no, it has to be. Has to be. I learned that the hard way.
We've just done space in school, and I know there's a core to the earth. So I just whack a rock in the middle.
I did a rule once
that's
of
so funny.
if anyone starts crying because we've taken it too far, then we all go in. And they were, but it worked because they were then really careful.
It's
not
worked
to like,
because they were really, really, really sore and had cuts on their heads, but none of them cried. None of them cried, and it was fine. You got bruised, you got a cut above your eyelid. It's all good. Mrs. Stevens said, just don't cry.
It was fine. No one cried. It was weird because there was just like a congregation of kids the other side who were all huddled over, and they looked like they were crying, but they couldn't see it.
Oh my god! What a way to like.
Yeah.
You know, we do like our like podcast where we're like set boundaries. Don't cry.
If anyone cries, we're
Crying
going
is
in.
the boundary.
It worked though, because I tell you what, they're all like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't go up and smash this snowball in their face because they might cry and then we have to go in.
God, if not crying was the boundary with me in lower school, we wouldn't do anything ever.
Yeah, this is just it.
This person looked at me. I was like, okay.
Oh god. So, are you going to do it then? That's at the end of this. What's your conclusion? We haven't had a snow day yet. Let's assume it's going to happen. Are you going to do it?
I think I would rather do it and then face the consequence of someone being annoyed at me than not do it and be like, I should have let those kids play in the snow.
Yeah. Is there a middle ground? Could be that maybe you could just like send a kid round to be like, we're thinking of going outside. What do you think?
Well, the middle ground will probably be preempting it. Like, just me on Monday going to SLT and be like, if this does happen, I will think. I think I really want to just do this.
Yeah, for 5 minutes.
And if they're like no because or yes because, then you can. It's my boss at the end of the day. I'll be like, okay, no problem. But
makes sense.
I don't know. Maybe it's preempting, or maybe it's just say nothing, do it anyway, and then face consequences, which tends to be how I live my life. To be honest with you, just do what I think is the right thing.
That sounds
and,
about
and
right.
then see afterwards if someone's got a problem with it.
Oh, you had a problem. Oh, that's you. Oh, all right. Deal with it.
Okay. Anyway, you mentioned something. I want to have a quick chat of it now before we get into the bulk of this while we're in our little catch up very briefly, because you talked about AI, and I think we've done a few episodes on AI before. There was this big wave of like, yeah, AI for everything. And it was like awesome. We were well behind that. I wouldn't say then it went the opposite way at all, but it kind of had a bit of a lull where it was like, okay, everyone knows it exists now. We're kind of all cemented in our beliefs, whether it's good or bad, and people weren't really shifting too much one way or the other.
It's maybe not developed as rapidly as people thought. There was like this really big start of like, oh my god, AI is going to take over. Look what it can do. From yesterday, we could do nothing. Now we can do this.
Yeah,
and it's like a year later, it's like we can still do this though.
Yeah, and
It's like
not all
nothing
teachers know about it, and I think maybe that's what you want to talk about now. But in general, you know, using AI, it definitely has its place. Where have you found it then really, really useful, where you'd still say to all of our audience listening now, like, guys, listen, if you're not using it for this, you should at least try it.
Honestly, lesson design in general, like they're just as a very broad term.
So what do you mean? Because in my head, a teacher, I still think a teacher has to be really heavily involved personally in the structure and like how a lesson goes. So what do you mean by lesson design?
So 2 examples. Over the Christmas holidays, this is 2 ways I used AI really, really effectively. I'd mapped out my English MTP, my medium-term plan, and I was starting to actually plan the individual lessons, and I got, bulk them out with tasks and things. And a couple of lessons I was really struggling with, like, I'm not really sure where I want to go with this, exactly where I want to go with this. I thought, I wonder if there's any ideas out there. And quite often I'd Google it.
Sure.
You'd go on Twinkle, there'd be a Twinkle pack that you can download for this or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to put it into AI. I wonder what that can do. It was the first time I'd done it. And I just said, this is my learning objective. These are the kids I'm teaching. Think of some ideas for tasks. And it just obviously just scours the entire internet and just thought of some really cool stuff. I didn't actually, ironically, use any of them, but they immediately inspired me, and I was like, oh yes, I know what I can do now, because that made me think of something.
That's such a good way to use AI, because I think what that can be summarized with, and I think AI does this really well, is it just refines your searching. How many times have you been in a Google black hole as a teacher searching for the exact right thing that's in your head, or that bit of inspiration, and you're like 7 pages deep and it's just not hitting the mark? AI is so good at basically doing that job for you in a millisecond, and then presenting it to you, like you said, to still inspire you. Not to say it's all built already, it's done, AI's got all the job, but that inspiration comes so much quicker.
But then what was also good, this is kind of a middle, this wasn't what I was thinking of with my 2, but when I did then think of the task that was kind of inspired by it, and I needed to bulk out, one of them involved, like, I had to writing quite a bit for the task, and I was like, this is quite generic. I wonder if I can just tell AI, can you write me a passage? Can you think of a paragraph where it's got these conjunctions in it, and I can do this task with it? And it just wrote a really good one. I was like, cool, that saved me 10 minutes. But then the big one for me, well, especially with English, is, particularly at our school, and I'm sure most schools do this, but we like to show the children good examples. We call them a waggle.
It's imperative.
What a good one looks like. Right?
How can you write something well without seeing a good example of it?
Exactly. Like you, that's sort of perfect. Like, this is kind of what I want you to achieve at the end of this unit, this level of writing. And AI is, oh my God, it's so good. The amount of times in the past I've sat there and spent an hour writing a waggle because I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm going to teach the subjunctive form, and I haven't modeled any of that in this writing. Start again. I just went into AI. I spent maybe 5 minutes writing the prompt, because you can write really long prompts.
So a detailed prompt.
It was 3 paragraphs long, where I was like, this is the audience. This is the level I want it written for. It's a balanced argument, was what we were doing. I want it to have very specifically 1 introductory paragraph. I want 1 for, 1 against, 1 conclusion at the end. I want it to include about 5 or 6 different grammar things that I was going to be teaching over the next few weeks. And then I just press enter. Wow. And I did that 4 times. And I ended up getting 4 really good bits of writing out of it. I slightly edited some of them just to be like, just perfect for what I was teaching. But honestly, 99% of the work was done, and they were good examples of writing. They were really good. Just as good as what I'd write.
And I think part of teaching and being more proficient and efficient rather is accepting that I'm not an author. You're not an author.
Yeah.
Like we want a waggle to meet the ends, like what we want to teach children and see them right. So AI is amazing for that. And I think the really powerful thing, you've hit the nail on the head. You'd spend ages writing 1 waggle. What a good one looks like for anyone listening. I think we might have said that. Yeah. But it's we'd spend ages writing 1 and be like really proud of it at the end. And it might be really good. But like, you want children to experience loads.
Yeah.
You want children to see lots of different. You want to change the kind of setting and show the children. We've seen this really good example of a text. What about if it was set in a graveyard instead, and we just shifted the tone completely? And you can do that with your writing by keeping the structure, but we're going to shift the tone here by or maybe just slightly even change the genre sometimes. And I know you look at one genre at a time, but that's a really powerful thing for children to see how tweaks can change something and make the reader feel something different. So then as a writer, when they experience that themselves, they can think, okay, well, I'm going to try and do that, because now instead of a cemetery, mine's going to be set in Candyland. Yeah. And it's really positive, but I can still take those those actual sentence types and say, well, here I made the author feel scared by building tension. Here I'm going to make the author feel a sense of enjoyment or excitement for where they are by changing the words and stuff. And that's what you want when kids write, and AI can be really powerful with that.
Well, here's the crux of it. Here's what it allowed me to do that I just wouldn't have done. I would have been able to do it, but I wouldn't have done it because it would have taken too long. Is my first lesson now, when I'm introducing this topic on balanced arguments, is an ideas party lesson. And they have all 4 of these waggles that I generated. And I don't tell them they're balanced arguments. I'm not telling them anything, really. I'm just being like, I just have some question prompts on the board, like, what is this? Who is this written for? Who do you think it's written by? What's their purpose? Are there any similarities in the features you've seen? You can't do that without having multiple. Are there any features in there that you haven't really seen, like, compared to like we've just done narrative? It's like what things are in there, what things aren't in there. You can't do that without multiple waggles. And it allowed me to do that lesson, which I think is going to be a really rich lesson because of that. So yeah, little plug to AI there. It's a good tool. I was just using ChatGPT. It's completely free to use. You just literally have to sign up, make an account. Brilliant. There is a paid version. I don't think
there's no such thing as a free thing, Aidan.
Yeah.
Where's all your details going?
You pay with your data. You pay with your data.
Yeah. But it is free.
But it's free. Yeah, just use it. Yeah, so yeah, I had a really good time.
Good.
With
Interesting.
AI.
Amazing. Right, let's crack on then with this episode. We're taking a look at why so many teachers feel trapped. It's a really interesting question to me. Let's play the jingle and let's dive into it. Before we dive into this question, why teachers feel trapped, immediately when we thought about talking about this, our first thought is always what teachers talk about all the time. What can we give a voice to? What can we try and explain? What can we try and make people relate to?
Yeah,
right? Our audience. That's all we think about. And as an offshoot of that, I would say sometimes it can feel negative. Okay. And we do sometimes get messages from people. I just want to highlight this because I think they're fair enough. I really do. We got a message recently. It wasn't even a message. It was a comment on something. And we post reels on Instagram, on TikTok and things like that. And you know, the ones that seem a bit more negative do get more traction. Therefore, they get more comments. Therefore, we get more eyes on the screen. And a lot of the people watching right now might have come from one of those reels. And I just want to reference something someone said because it really did make me think for a second. And I thought, do you know what? No, I back ourselves here. And this person essentially said, you know, oh, you guys it felt like you were so positive at the start and it was like nice to listen to. And lately it feels like you maybe are shifting a bit into the negativity. And there was one sentence in particular, which was, if I was an ECT listening, I think I'd question my profession choice right now. And I thought to myself, it's not nice to hear someone say that you're being negative.
Yeah.
But then I thought, no, I think we're doing the right thing. And I was very cordial reply back because it's a fair point. But I just wanted to talk about defining negativity and realism.
Yeah.
Okay. Because listen, we are just trying to be realistic. And I think that if you go through life trying to constantly avoid being, quote, negative, it allows things to fester that are just wrong. So one of my favorite comments underneath was from an ECT replying who said, do you know what? Hearing these guys talk about this stuff helps me realize it's happening everywhere. It helps me know I'm not alone. It helps me understand that it's not me, it's the system that's broken. And I was like, that's why we do it.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. It is about being real. That's what we do. So maybe we should just redefine very quickly what is the point of this podcast? Seriously, actual big question, because we're 95 episodes in, right? I reckon if you spoke to us a year and a half ago when we started this, you said, do you think you'll make it to 95? We'd be like, oh, I don't know, we might run out of ideas by then. But we haven't. We're still here. We're still talking about stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what is the purpose of this podcast?
Yeah.
For me, it is to talk about the things that maybe people feel a bit nervous about talking about sometimes.
Yeah.
To be really honest.
Yeah.
Again, even with that fear of, oh, should I say this? Will I get in trouble for saying this? It's like, well,
will I look like a bad teacher?
Yeah,
for
that kind of thing.
this?
The optics is like, well, maybe. Do you know what? Clearly, people maybe think that about us.
But the vast majority of people think, thanks for saying it. And we're going to be unapologetically doing that, basically. We're not rude often, I don't think. But we just say exactly what we think. And it might be a differing opinion, but for many people, it's just opening up that. And we want to be extremely honest. We're never going to hide the truth because it feels like it's negative. If anything, we're going to highlight it more because so many people feel that way.
One thing we've always strived to do, so to let us know if you feel like this does come across, especially if you've been listening for a while, is actually give solutions. We really, really try hard. When we plan an episode, we're like, if it is like a critique of the system, we usually try and say, by the end of it, should we at least like think of our own ideas of how that could be solved? Otherwise, you are just moaning. And I think sometimes the reels that you'll post is just a snippet of an episode, and it might be that bit where we are moaning because that's the bit people relate to, and that's the bit that blows up. And then if you're not listening to that, well, do you know what? For 20 minutes after that, we spent talking about like solutions to this problem and what could be great in teaching. So
and there are lots of good things about teaching, and we're going to unapologetically talk about all of them. We're going to talk about the great things, the medium things, the annoying things, and that's why we're here. We're a safe space for teachers. Get in touch. The amount of messages we get who are saying, yeah, I've seen this, I've seen that. Guys, we are your safe space. Get in touch with us. And if you're a new listener, let's crack on with today's chat. So I talk to a lot of teachers, obviously, all the time. And the number one thing I hear is the retention and recruitment crisis. Yep, cool, got that. People are leaving. People aren't joining. That's a huge problem.
Yep.
Then I see a lot of loud people online talking about how, no, it's fine. You shouldn't moan about anything. You know, just being a teacher's being a teacher. You know, just got a big, nothing's too much for the kids. It's a vocation. Completely disagree with all of that anyway.
Yeah.
There is a huge middle ground. And I'm talking a huge middle ground. So many teachers, and you probably know them or you actually are one yourself, who wants to leave the profession but doesn't feel like they can. And this is the idea of being trapped. Okay. So before we talk about why teachers do feel trapped, what is driving so many teachers to think, look, I want to leave this profession? What's that seed where, you know, you have to want to leave to be trapped somewhere? You're not trapped if you did it yourself and you're choosing to do it. If you lock yourself in the toilet to go to the toilet, you're not trapped. You just don't want anyone to come in. You're choosing to be in there. But when it's time to leave the toilet, Hayden, you can unlock the door and leave.
What a great...
People who are trapped feel like they can't. And it's not a nice place to be after you've gone to the toilet, being trapped in there.
Back to that radio host. Your words are great today, Dylan. Your words are great. You're not jumbling them up like normal.
I don't know if you're being sarcastic or
not.
I'm
not. You're doing great. I'm listening.
What is it, Hayden? What is it that's driving this desire for teachers to think, I want to leave? I feel trapped, cool, but I want to leave in the first place.
Do you know what? We've got a bit of a list here, and I'm going to go out of order here, because there's one thing that hits home to me that I feel like probably is the one people don't want to mention. It's the one people don't want to say. It's the pay. Seriously. People don't want to talk about that. It's, oh, teacher, you're not doing it for the money. And you get totally convinced that, that's how, I don't feel like that. Like, I do actually like paying my mortgage. Oh, no, I did want to go on holiday next year. And people are like, but I can't say that. I can't talk about pay. But the stagnating pay, it is real. You can literally, as an NQT, go to work. If you work with someone that has been teaching for 15 years and ask them about what their lifestyle was like 15 years ago when they started, it will not be like yours, I promise you that. They will have had so much more stuff than you, so much more access to things, so many more holidays, so much more disposable income. And that's just true. And they did the same job as you 15 years ago. And that's not even that long, really, if you think about it. So the pay has stagnated. That's the first one. Yeah,
that's absolutely true. That is, and you're allowed to complain about that. Like, this is one of the most driving forces we've had of people being annoyed at us, actually, is us saying about pay. I don't care if you're annoyed at me for talking about pay. We're professionals, and it's going down in real time.
Oh, but people get paid worse, Dylan. People get paid worse. Who do you think you are?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I think I'm a professional who just wants to maintain the standard why I chose to get into this career in the first place. Do we want it to be a career which is appealing to people or not? It's a very simple question. Yeah, let's stop doing that weird thing where we say how important this job is, but then don't back it up with the pay. Like, stop it. It doesn't go together otherwise. This is why we're in the problem right now.
As we said long ago, it's not a race to the bottom. It's one of our first phrases in this podcast. We are not racing to the bottom. Stand up for yourself. The pay is a legitimate reason that you might want to leave the profession, and it's okay to say that.
There's the obvious reason, increasing workload. We talk about that a lot. I don't really want to go into it too much. I mean, teachers know about this. Workload is increasing and it never seems to stop. I feel like, yes, as you get through your career, I definitely now do less work than when I was an ECT. And absolutely, that probably should be the way. Do you know what I mean? You're learning your trade as an ECT. You're going to plan lessons in more detail because, do you know what? By doing that, eventually the experience pays off. That's part of it. But it feels like never, ever ending. Changing to this, changing to that for what feels like crazy, pointless reasons that just adds workload. And too often, I think, as teachers, we feel like work is put on us for the sake of work being put on us, for that people who aren't doing the work look like they're doing work. It's like, well, I'm out of the classroom. I'm not going to do anything. I'm in a teaching position, but I have a lot of time not teaching. I need to be seen to be doing something for learning. And me doing something for learning means that I'm going to have a box for people who are learning in the classroom to be doing something, not me.
It's like, we talked about it before, like
very frustrating.
That toxic need for change, didn't we? It's like if something's not changed in 2 years, it has to be changed because it's automatically bad now if it's not been changed. It's like, well, that's not actually how things work, but that seems to be how it works in teaching.
Can I very quickly mention, I know I'm going to go 2 in a row here, Hayden, I'm very sorry. But you talked about the pay, a big thing that people don't like to talk about. Honestly, for me, something that I really, really struggle with as a teacher and have seen over the course of my career is the consistent chipping away at funding and cuts and the system not working for so many children over time again and again. They're not getting the support that they need. It is literally heartbreaking. Like genuinely, like you go into teaching for one reason, right? Yeah, you want a semi-decent lifestyle. Okay, cool. I could have got a semi-decent lifestyle doing a few jobs. I could have trained up to do them in a different way. Go into teaching because you like being around the children and want to help other people. And when you're in the system that is constantly belittling everything you do as not enough because you physically can't meet the needs of all the kids in your class, that eats away at your soul. And as a teacher, that is a huge driving factor for people being like, do you know what? I can't do this anymore. See you later.
Yeah. And it's sad. And that's like... the worst way to leave as well, isn't it? Because you've said this before about the idea of feeling defeated. I remember there was a few episodes ago where you were a bit down, I think. And now looking back, you were really I think annoyed at the system, and you were saying how if it ever drove you to that point where you had to leave, you would feel really defeated. And that's kind of what you're saying. It's like, we care about the kids, and seeing them literally not get the care they need because of the system, not even you, is really demoralizing. And it is a reason that people want to leave, because they don't want to be part of that. They don't want to feel like they're contributing to these kids like not getting what they need, because you're the person that's actually at the front line with them.
I feel like that's what rubs me up the wrong way if people label what we do as negative. I think it's very simplistic just to say, oh, that's negative. It's not a positive thing. Why are you saying that? You're making the profession look bad. That person saying like an ECT, if I was listening to your stuff, guys, I'd be questioning my job as an ECT. Good.
Yeah.
Honestly, is your option that they shouldn't be? Is your option that you want the ECTs to go into this job completely blind of the problems, or do you want them to understand them, realize it's not their fault, thrive hopefully as a result because they have control over what they can have control over, and be the best teacher they possibly can be in this system? Or do we want to gaslight them into thinking, oh, it's all good, guys, I'm not going to mention all this stuff because it's negative, I'm not going to say it. No, I am. I'm going to say it louder, because hopefully if you know what you're getting yourself into, you can prepare yourself for it, you can stay in the profession longer. That's what we need.
And you know what, something maybe we've never thought of before is NQTs, ECTs that are like clued up can actually start fighting the fight almost, like doing the stuff. Why should we let people? Why should we make it so that it takes 3 years for them to figure it out themselves? Oh, well, the system's completely broken. It would actually be really beneficial to everybody if ECTs knew straight away and started trying to drive for change straight away as well. Because you know what? That's a huge chunk of people that are kind of like automatically they're not on the other side of this battle, if you know what I mean. I reckon a lot of it comes from you go and talk to me as an ECT. I was on the other side of the fence. I didn't know about this stuff yet. So I was working unholy hours and kind of being like, oh, that's the expectation. Why isn't everyone else doing it? I was the other side of what we're trying to fight against now. And if I was just a bit more clued up, I might not have been a barrier to actually making some change happen.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. I think all in all, it's a positive thing to be as transparent as possible. Absolutely agree. Yeah. More things, guys. We're going to go over them quickly before we get into it. Poor behaviour. It's a big one. Different schools and their culture in general. Parent culture, basically how you're treated as a professional. It just seems to be at the point now, and if you talk to anyone who's done the profession for a long time, it always feels like the good old days are behind us for many reasons. But this is one of those where people do say, look, behavior's got worse for many reasons. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, but at the end of the day, as a teacher, you're the one bearing the brunt of that.
It impacts you more than you think. I spoke to a friend recently who left teaching recently and then came back to teaching a year later in a different school, and it only by doing that did it make him realize that a huge part of the reason he thought he didn't want to teach anymore was because the behavior at the school, the culture at the school he was working at before, was really quite negative and poor.
The children or the adults in this?
It was more the children, but it was kind of everything in terms of the children weren't behaving very well because there weren't very good behavior routines in the school. Right. So it was a bit of everything. Yeah. But the behavior in general wasn't very good.
Okay.
And he said he's working at a school now where the behavior is impeccable. Like the children are extremely polite. The rules, the expectations are really, really high. And it makes teaching so much more enjoyable. And he was like, oh my God, I didn't realize it. He was like, I would not have put money on the idea that behavior was making that much of a difference to me mentally.
Yeah. Can I have a real conversation for a minute? Let's just really strip back. And I feel like this might be a conversation people might be like, oh, you can't say that. And it's something I've been thinking about for a long time. As a teacher, right? I feel like there's two prongs to my job almost. The first prong is children who don't want to be in school.
Yep.
Part of my job is trying to inspire them to want to be in the classroom, to want to enjoy learning and learn stuff. Like that's how I see a part of my job. And that's really tiring. Yep. It's really hard. It's day after day, just being as positive as possible. Basically, the role of a teacher to try and convince someone to learn in the first place. Okay, there's a lot of people who say, yeah, of course, that's part of our job. And there's a lot of people who resent it and say, do you know what? I'm a teacher. I should just be teaching stuff. I'm not going to convince you to want to. You should want to learn yourself.
Yeah.
And that kind of annoys a lot of people. But I do think that's part of my job. But I've got to say, I agree. It is exhausting. What percentage of my time is based on that first thing, which is how much of my job is crowd control, just getting someone to exist, getting my class to exist in the classroom in a way where they can then learn. If the bigger percentage that is, the harder it is.
Yep.
Because the other side, the second part of my job, is teaching really well. And now I'm talking about literal pedagogy, getting children from A to B.
Yeah.
Now, the balance between those two things is so important. I think this is what this guy's alluding to. You can only run at 100% as a teacher. If the percentage of your energy is above a certain amount where you're just doing crowd control and getting the children to a place where they literally can start to learn, that's going to burn you out and really make you resentful about the fact you can't spend all the time you want to actually teaching. So I guess my question here is, what's an acceptable amount? Like as a teacher, like if you're spending 50% of your energy just simply getting the children to behave themselves and sit down and get ready to learn, clearly that's going to end in burnout. Clearly. But you can't get to zero. You can't expect to walk in and be like, right, guys, here, get your books, page 74, we're all beautiful, let's crack on. What's acceptable? Like what is going to tip us over the edge? Like, where are we at now? Where should we be?
Here's what I think is acceptable. Whatever you can take.
Really?
I don't think you could possibly put a line or a number on that. I think it's what you can take. I think for that particular teacher that I was speaking to, his line was lower than someone else's, and his line was lower than what that school could give him. He didn't work for him to work there. That is it. Because what I wouldn't want to do is be like, put this imaginary line in, and then where there are schools where it's like, well, they're over that line. It's like, okay, no one works there then. There's got to be someone's got to work there. People's lines are different. Like at the end of the day, I've known people in the past who work at like behavioural units. Where like literally every single child in there is like a really tricky behaviour. And I'm like. Oh my God, like if I have one child like that in my class, I really struggle to like want to do this job and stuff. I don't think I'm cut out for that line of work, but you are. So that's okay. So I think it is just where your line is. I think people should take that. Do you know what I mean? Don't think, oh, but everyone else is here and I'm only here. I'm now a bad teacher. You're just here. That's okay.
Do you think in general that line has shifted though? We're talking about behaviour getting worse over time. Do you think in general that the amount of time teachers are spending now on behaviour issues, controlling a class, compared to literally actually teaching, in general, do you think that bar has moved a little bit?
From talking to people and seeing the odd bit of research and stuff, I do think that is true. I don't personally feel like I've seen that too much. I think I've just had quite an eclectic mix of classes over the years. I've had some incredibly behaved classes. I've had some not very well behaved classes. I wouldn't say there's like a clear line of correlation there for my own personal experience, but that's such a small sample size.
But on the macro,
when we talk to a lot of people, I do think that's true. I also think that is extremely entwined with the culture of parents and how they approach school and how they treat teachers in schools, which I think I have seen definitely change personally. But I think they're extremely entwined. I think that kids behave differently because of that.
I guess the last thing I'm going to say on this is the reason it's really been in the forefront of my mind, especially this year, is I only realised how much of my time is spent on crowd control and behaviour management when I did my gifted and talented maths group with 6 mathematicians handpicked by people who love learning maths. Honestly, that was the first time in my career in so long where I felt like 100% of my efforts in that group was delivering maths learning and inspiring these children. And I'm not going to lie, I absolutely loved it. It felt like it was what I was on this earth to do.
So you're saying when behavioural problems were completely taken out of the equation, you enjoyed your job more?
Like, I absolutely. And I'm not afraid to say that because I do think part of my job is behaviour management. I completely accept that and I think it should be. And I think I've got a certain way with behaviour management that works really well. But I'm not going to pretend that. Do you know what? When I just sat there and were just inspiring these kids with maths and making their brain think in ways it hasn't thought before, and they were loving finding patterns or spotting things. That was me in my element as a teacher, teaching, and that is a big problem I think currently is when too much of your mind is on other things than teaching.
But that's okay, because you know what? You're allowed to like different things in your job more than other things. Like, they're all roles, they're all parts of your job. Because you would be quite happy and quite confident to say, I don't like planning lessons anywhere near as much as I like delivering lessons. I know they're both important, and it's the same for you. You're saying, I don't like dealing with behavioural issues as much as I like delivering teaching. Like I think that's okay to say. And I can see why you're a little bit nervous to say it, because it's like, when it's about the kids, people are like, don't. How dare you? Teachers should be selfless.
Every single behaviour issue ever is because of a reason that we can explain and solve. Oh, listen, you know what? Maybe, but like, it's still not nice to deal with.
I don't enjoy it that much.
Exactly.
And other times I do. And you know what? And everyone's bar is different. Someone else will come in and that'll be their favourite bit of the job. And they don't really like teaching maths. And you'll be like, mind blown. You're like, that's the best bit. What do you mean? They're like, no, I'd much rather have those 8 kids who don't want to do anything because I really get on with them and I can really connect with them.
I still love making the progression in that respect of all kids. Like, I think it's the act of the progression that I love. But I'm just not going to pretend that that isn't my ultimate version of the job.
Yeah.
It just is. It just is. And I think all of these things come into a big bowl. And we're at a point now where we know retention's bad. We know recruitment's bad. There are clearly lots of teachers who want to leave because A, they are leaving.
Yeah.
And B, if you work in a school, I honestly tell you right now, you could probably list 5 names in your head of teachers who've said to you, this is my last year.
Yeah.
For the same thing
Or,
every year for 5
I'm looking
years.
for other jobs. Are you looking? I'm looking.
Yeah.
I'm looking.
Yeah, of course, that's the
honestly,
thing.
yeah.
So let's move on then.
Yeah.
We the actual name of this episode is why so many teachers feel trapped in this profession. Okay, so we talked about the reasons why they might want to get out.
Yeah.
What is trapping them then? Because weirdly enough, when we sat and thought about the reasons why teachers say, oh, I'm just trapped in this job, even though it seems like quite a negative thing to say that you're trapped somewhere, it's usually actually, there are some pros hidden in here. Because
that's the point.
the only reason you wouldn't leave a job is because, well, there are pros.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
moving
yeah.
might have more cons. So Hayden, what are the reasons then? Why do teachers feel trapped in teaching?
Two big. I'm gonna do 2. You did 2 earlier, so I get 2.
Go on.
So I'm gonna link them together: salary and pension, because I think they're both money related.
But Hayden, we went on strike because our pay wasn't going up, and you just said all our pay is stagnating.
Yeah, and you know what? It is stagnating. You are allowed to. We're giving you permission because we're the CEOs of this podcast. So we're giving you permission.
Who told you could do that? Teach, Sleep, Repeat, episode 90-something.
Do you not know them?
Let me give you a Spotify link. Well, because we're from Yorkshire. We look after our teachers up here, and we love our teachers. So we're going to share the Spotify link for Teach, Sleep, Repeat, and leave a review.
I think we should do the rest of the episode like that, and then people take us really
I
seriously.
can't wait to see the drop off of retention.
Yeah, God.
Oh, God, they're doing the Yorkshire voice again.
They're doing it again. Turn off. Anyway, back to
Salary and pension.
Right, because you can have stagnating pay that is also not like the lowest pay possible. Like
Right.
they can coexist.
Like when the doctors went on strike and everyone was like, they're earning so much. It's like, yeah, but not.
Yeah, they were earning more though. They were earning more.
Yeah.
So it's like they have their pay stagnated. At the end of the day, okay, that is true. But also, you can also look at a teacher's salary, and especially when you're at our level, you're at the kind of other end of the pay scale.
Well, we're
now.
on you upper pay range. Let's be honest.
We're on the upper pay range, and it's like, okay, the salary's not so bad.
It's good.
It's not so bad.
Yeah.
It's not as good as it was 10 years ago.
Right.
And I kind of resent the fact that people 10 years ago for the exact same job, if anything, it was a bit easier, got more money than I did. That's a bit annoying.
And then the pensions, it's a very good pension.
Yeah,
isn't it?
the pension is insanely good.
Yeah.
And again, that used to be better as well.
Exactly.
But it's still a really good pension. And do you know what? That's a huge thing for people feeling trapped. Because they're like, I want to leave, but I have a mortgage, I have bills, I don't really want to live a risky life where I don't know what I'm going to be getting paid. I know what I'm getting paid. I live within my means right now. And if I leave, I'm probably not going to get the exact same salary right now. And I'm probably not going to get as good a pension deal as I do right now. So I feel kind of trapped by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we mean. That's one example.
And linked to that, another reason is having to reclimb the ladder.
Yeah.
You know, we've done it already. Like teachers who are like 6, 7, 8 years in or more, they've climbed the ladder. Maybe they've got to a situation like us where they're leading a subject. Maybe they're leading a year group. Maybe they're thinking, do you know what? I'm at the point now. I listened to the Teach, Sleep, Repeat episode on Is Middle Leadership Ever Worth It? And I know it's probably not, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's the next thing in my career and I'm climbing the ladder.
Damn, that's a good episode.
Oh, that's a great episode. You should go and watch that one and share it with all your friends. But the idea of having to reclimb the ladder again is a little bit exhausting. Do you know, you've got to this point now where you're quite good at your job. You know, you're going to have to go somewhere else, entry level.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go every year. Maybe the progression's quicker. Maybe within 5 years instead of 10 years, you get to where you were. It's still, you know, when you're in your 30s and 40s, maybe you've got a young family, maybe you haven't, whatever it is, it's still another exhausting step to retrain and do all of that. So I do think the salary, it's a big thing. Whenever I talk to teachers, that's usually what they say. That is usually what they say. They say, yeah, but I'm going to have to take a 10K pay cut.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's probably easier to do it earlier on. If you're 2 years into your career and you feel trapped and you're like, I can't. And maybe one of the reasons is, well, I've sunk 3 years into it now. Like this is what I've done. Everyone thinks I'm going to be doing it. The public image, like, people are going to look at me, think I've failed. I'm only 2 years in. Don't worry. Honestly, I think you just kind of need to. You'd be more annoyed at yourself if you trudged through another 8 years, worked up the pay scale, decided to live within your means of that pay scale. Now you don't even like doing the job anymore, and then it's like,
and you still felt the same way.
Yeah, and then it like you can really justify. Okay, now I like really do feel trapped. So that I think the earlier on, the more chance you've got to, like, your pay is lower anyway, to maybe skip across to a different career.
It's that sunken cost fallacy, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely that.
I've put 3 years in, so I better put another 8 in. Well, think about it for a minute. Like honestly, just think about it.
Yeah.
The longer you go, the harder it is to leave. And I don't want to sit here and say, so leave the profession, guys, because that's not what we're about. about. We spend a lot of time trying to help teachers out. But if you literally know that's what's going to happen, don't pretend.
So is that it, Dylan? So do teachers feel trapped? All about the money?
I think right. I'm not going to pretend it's not a big thing. I think money is the main thing, right? But if you ask me, okay,
I will.
As a parent, come on then. I'm going to do two as well.
Okay.
There are two other big hitters. There are two other massive hitters that people say. I'm going to start with the holidays. Holidays are huge. Okay. We as teachers, disclaimer, do not get paid for our holidays. We get paid 1,265 hours via directed time with an expectation to do a bit more to fulfill the needs of the job, spread over 12 months. So it feels like we're getting paid for nothing in August when we don't do any work in school. But it's just spreading out the cost of what we earned on term
full-time hours, which are condensed into 10 months.
Exactly. So when people say that, ignore them. So when people say, aren't the 13 weeks nice? Just ignore them. Don't even bother trying to tell them, honestly, because it's not an equivalence. But what it is extremely nice to know that you have control over that time. You're not going to have to go into work. Will you have to do some extra work at some points across that? Yes. Okay. Sure. You can control when you do that. It might mean doing longer hours in term time, might be doing some weekend jobs. Of course, that's true. But we do get 13 actual weeks off where you have control over that time. And okay, holidays are more expensive, etc. But if you have a young family and they go to school, you're off with your kids. Okay. And also, there is something nice about at the start of the year knowing exactly when you'll be off and having control over that. And it is a lot of time off. A lot of people work long hours anyway in different jobs. It's not a race to the bottom. So it is nice to know that, we can work really hard in the term time, get really stressed. But, the longest in a row that I work without a week off is 8 weeks.
Yeah.
There's what other job can you say?
I know. And it is nice. You can't deny it. When people say to me, because I usually do it with a bit of a sly tone, 13 weeks are nice, though, aren't they? You get off. Now my response is, yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice. It's a really good perk of the job.
Do you know what's really nice about your job? That you get paid 20 grand a year more than me. That's nice, isn't it? They turn around and go, it is. I'm like, cool. Well, let's end this conversation then. Yeah. It's just called a pro of the job. It's a perk of the job.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't define it as better than yours.
I know. You could have an argument, couldn't they? They could say, well, your pension's better than mine. It's like, okay, do we need to do this really?
Exactly.
What's the point of this?
Yeah.
If you feel trapped in a job, you feel trapped in a job.
And what do we want to be more appealing? A quantity surveyor or a teacher of our children? Well, at the minute, a quantity surveyor is more appealing. I always say quantity surveyor
because all my mates are quantity surveyors.
And I know quantity surveyors, and they're some of my best mates, and I've got nothing against them whatsoever. But we just live in this such weird world where it's just like, well, one's way more attractive than the other. Why? Let's make them equally attractive, or let's not pretend teaching is this dream job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's tough, it's tricky, it's nice, it's got lots of pros, but lots of jobs have
you
pros.
take a bit of a pay cut, but it's a dreamy job. It's like, well, no, it's not, is it really though? There's some nice elements to it, but most people want to leave.
Yeah.
It's not that dreamy.
I guess this leads on to the other one I was going to say, because I'm stealing two in a row, because how dare you do what I did to you. It is the fulfillment. It is the fulfillment, and I've talked about this a number of times on the podcast lately, and I've clipped it into reels, I've put it out there because it's exactly how I feel. The number one thing for me personally, holding me back from just saying, okay, I'll quit, is that fulfillment. Is that absolute fulfillment I get every day by doing what I love doing, which is teaching the children, helping them. And I say it all the time, but for me, it's important to be a safe space for them. I know that I could leave the job, someone else would come in and do just as good a job of me, if not better. I know that's probably the case, but you know what? I don't have control over that. And the 0.01% chance that someone comes in and just doesn't do that for the children, it eats me up inside.
And you know that you can because you are you.
Yeah. When I'm I'm like, cool, I know I can create this for them. I know I can make them enjoy school. I know I can be that person that they can come to and tell me their problems. I know that I can be in charge of making sure they learn maths that they need to learn.
So what's making you feel trapped here? Is it the idea that if you leave, you can't guarantee that the kids are going to be getting that provision that you know you'll provide? Or is it the idea that you might not get that fulfillment somewhere else?
It's selfish. It's selfish. I talk about the control over the kids, but I know that kids get a really good deal in every other school in this country.
So that's quite unlikely.
So that's not that. I think that's what I say to myself to boost up my and also this as well.
Right. Okay.
Like the main thing is completely selfish.
Yeah.
I love teaching and helping children and making sure they make progress and are safe and enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
There's nothing I love more than that, and I always say I feel lucky that's my job.
Yeah.
It's part of my job, and if I quit and that disappears somehow. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I would say. If someone said to me, do you feel trapped in teaching? I'd be like, well, I don't think I do. But if I had to say why I'm still teaching, That's the number one
Probably
reason.
that. Yeah.
That is it, because everyone's got different things behind them. Everyone's got different financial security. Everyone's got different needs for the holidays, whether they've got young children or not, etc. Someone might actually not like the holidays because they want cheap holidays. They've not got a family at home. Actually, I don't want that, so that's not holding me back. I'd love to have holidays. I'd love to have fewer holidays, but be able to take them whenever.
But actually go on holiday.
Right, exactly. So like all of these are caveated with it's personal. Me personally, the fulfillment is by far and away top, and I think. What I'd be looking for is, okay, if I did make that jump, how am I going to replace that?
Can I tell you mine?
Yeah.
And thank you, by the way. That was really good. That was really interesting. It's part of that as well, by the way. But there's another little thing that was always in my brain. Because, we are in that position. Someone said to us, what's the other day? Oh, we got 1 foot out because we are part-time and we do have a business where we generate income in a different way. So there is that opportunity for us, maybe a bit more at our fingertips. But we're still here and we still feel that feeling of trapped. Is why we're doing this episode. We try to speak from the heart, like how we feel. And for me, it's a bit of that fulfillment. Like I'm worried I'm not going to get that. But it's the way, I don't know, maybe it's my brain, but I just need every day to be different. I need to have things to work on. I like the fact that in teaching, you're constantly working on new projects.
Right.
And that project, and that sounds awful saying a child is a project, but it could be literally a child. The project could be, right, this kid really doesn't want to learn this thing. What am I going to do? Oh, maybe I'm going to try this strategy. That worked for me for a few years. I'm going to try that. You're constantly reasoning and problem solving, like a maths, and thinking. And I'm really worried that if I stop doing that, even if all the other things seem really good, I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to get my weekends back. I'm going to get all this time back. I'm not going to feel as stressed. I'm not going to be annoyed at all this top-down pressure. I'm going to get paid better. Maybe I even find a better paid job. But if I go in every day and I feel bored, which I don't feel when I'm teaching. I never feel bored at school. I tell you that. Like the days go quick.
Doesn't it? When you're in the lesson, honestly, right? Being real now, and I'd love to know what other people think. Maybe they're in different positions to us. 99% of teachers, I don't even. Pace is like ingrained in me now. I'm not looking at the clock. I'm just like, I kind of know where it's going because it goes like that. Yeah. It's so fun and enjoyable. But because we're working hard.
If anything, I want more time. Yeah. I always want my lessons to be 10 minutes longer. I'm always like, I just need another 5-10 minutes. Like, in what other job would you do that? Yeah. I just want this meeting to go on for 5 more. I just want to make 5% more for the shareholders. I just really want it to have a better car next year. Like, no one's doing that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing for me. It's the idea that every day is definitely going to be unique in school. Yeah. Even every year to the extent, because you might get changed year groups. It's a whole new job. And
do you go on.
Yeah, I'm just worried. I'm worried that if I'm trapped by that, do you know what I mean? Because it stops me from taking that plunge and being like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to go try something else.
In that, you're talking about, you're kind of scared of losing what you've got. Idea of, this is working really well for me. I don't want to lose it. Yeah. Do you equally, do you have a bit of a fear of the unknown? Like, yeah, okay, you don't want to lose what you've got, but do you also worry, is the other option even any good?
I guess that's probably what that is, really, isn't it? It is a fear of the unknown because I'm scared that I'll go into any other style of life, and the lack of that uniqueness of every day is actually gonna be worse than having it, even with all of the cons of teaching. So yeah, I'm scared because I just don't know what that's gonna be like. I could right quit tomorrow and walk into another job, and within a month be like, oh God, I love this. This is great. Like there's still opportunities to solve problems every day. I'm a project manager now. Like I'm sure there are loads of jobs where those skills are transferable and that every day is different, but it is scary. Fear of the unknown is a big thing. And I don't think we should be afraid to talk about that. Like
a lot of comments we've seen lately when I've put my kind of heart on the sleeve, like you've just done now and we've both done, of like being worried about leaving. It's been nice to see quite a few comments from people saying there are jobs out there where you still get this fulfillment, where you still get this thing. You still get that because for whatever reason, don't let that be the reason you're not taking the jump or trying something. And I think what I would say here is the cyclical nature of teaching, that there's a new year every September. If you can afford a year, if you do that pit pony, we talked about it before, if you search pit pony, it sounds like a really obscure thing by just saying pit pony. But what it basically is it's going through your finances and actually calculating what your minimum threshold for income is. So actually saying, okay, adding up exactly what goes out, adding up exactly what comes in, seeing what the difference is for disposable income that you need. And it's often quite lower than people think. And working that out means that, okay, cool. If I work that out and then I know I can take a salary job for 1 year at 25K.
Yeah.
It's a big pay cut, but you know what? I've worked it out. I'll be okay for a year.
Yeah.
I'll try it because it's in something I really want to try. I might not like it. I'll try and get another job at teaching afterwards.
Yeah.
I might absolutely love it and I'll be able to progress up through there. it's probably worth doing something like that.
Yes, that's so right. That is such a pro for if you're feeling trapped, for convincing someone to take the plunge, isn't it? Teaching is great. It's going to keep existing, I promise you. It's going to keep existing. Those schools are still like people that the recruitment, like it's not great right now. There's probably going to be jobs out there, you know, so you can always go back into it. You're so right. It's so true.
It's interesting.
There's one more. I think we kind of touched on it, but I want to make it anyway because we wrote this point down. It's what you're good at.
Yeah.
It's a thing, isn't it? Like you feel good because you're good at it.
Yeah.
That's it. I trained for 3 years. Well, I didn't. I trained for 1 year, but most people train for 3 years
PGCE
to do it. I did a PGCE. But it's what you're good at. Like, I feel like I'm good at it. And I did it after 1 or 2 years. I felt like I was pretty good at teaching. And that made me feel good. It made me feel proud of myself. It made some people in my family proud. It made people in my friendship circles proud. Like, and that feels good. Yeah. So knowing that you're good at something, you've got a very specialized skill set that other people, like, I think a lot of people think that they could just walk in and teach primary school. I reckon loads of people that I know think.
Even nice people who just like, they're not even being horrible. They just think, that's an easy DOS job.
Yeah. Honestly, it's one of those jobs where I'm like, it is so convoluted and complicated to actually, the knowledge is what they probably think of.
It's what a black cab driver has in London. The knowledge.
Yeah, the knowledge.
But it's true. If they quit, right?
Yeah.
We talk about transferable skills as a teacher. There are obviously some skills.
I can drive.
Yeah, exactly. Literally. There are obviously some skills that are transferable, right? And if you're a teacher going for a job in a different business, that business owner will be like, well, they taught for 10 years. They're definitely, they understand the importance of organization, controlling a group, running a meeting, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Adaptability.
But there's not many jobs that directly transfer. Like if you're a black cab driver with the knowledge, right? You're like, oh, well, I can memorize things. Like, yeah, they're cool. That's transferable. You're never going to find a job where you use the knowledge again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know all the roads in London.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got Google Maps in this office.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
So as a teacher, you're like, I'm really good at this. I'm so good at curating an English curriculum and then delivering it. And I'm learning how to develop my maths. And over the 10 years, I got really good at it. And I know the progression between year 3, year 4, year 5. Those really specific things that you're really good at are only good in teaching.
And you know what's really annoying? There are jobs out there specifically of that thing where it's like you can create resources, but they are generally quite a big jump down in pay. And then it goes full circle back to your first point, reclimbing the ladder. You know, if you want to take that pay cut, I love doing this, but you're back down to like step 1 and you feel like, I've invested 10 years climbing up this ladder, getting to this point where I'm on 45k or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's loads of reasons I think teachers feel trapped.
Right. Let's round it off with, like we always like to do. So what should someone who feels trapped do? We kind of touched upon it there a little bit. I think what you have to do, if you genuinely feel trapped in teaching, and what I mean is I'm going to define it really clearly. If you want to leave teaching, okay? So if you don't want to leave teaching, but you're like, oh, I test the water somewhere else, but it's not really driving you. It's not in the forefront of your brain. You're still enjoying teaching a lot. It's a great job for many reasons, like we said. And if these still outweigh the cons of moving, carry on teaching and enjoy it.
And do a side hustle. Those people genuinely, if you think you enjoy it, just do a little side hustle. That's
try something out. Exactly. And that worked for us. But okay, if you're actually feeling trapped, you actually want to get out of teaching, okay? But all of the things we just said, it's just too much for me to let go of. Yeah. What my advice to you would be is get on top of your finances. Exactly. Unfortunately, the answer might be you can't afford to take the jump. Yeah. Okay. Honestly, that is genuinely the answer. And what you should do in that case is you should listen to all our other episodes where we give loads of actionable advice of what you can do to try and reduce that workload. To try and think, oh, I want to leave for these reasons, but the salary's good. Well, okay, how can you reduce your workload then? Yeah. How can you make it more manageable?
Enjoy the job again. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How can you do that?
Make the pros outweigh the cons, basically.
Exactly that. Yeah. But if you look at what your bottom line is, what you can afford to jump to, if you get a number in your head, you can then actually start looking. There's a lot of people that have said, oh, I'm looking for another job. And I said to them, oh, cool. What are you looking for? What's your threshold? What's your salary you'd go to? And they say, oh, I don't know really. I was like, well, you're not really looking then, are you? You're browsing. And there's a difference there. You're just seeing what's out there. Yeah. Have a really clear plan, okay? Know the salary you're willing to dip to the pound coin, because you've run the numbers and you've talked to whoever you're with at home, whether it's yourself or with a family. Know the kind of field you want to go into. Do a little bit in your free time extra to gain experience. Reach out to these people. Say to them, look, can I do a course as well? Yeah. My friend used to be an estate agent. For years, did a course after hours. He had a child. When the child went to bed, he'd carry on doing the call. Worked really hard extra on top. It's not easy, But now he's got a job working as like an Amazon cloud engineer, doing a job for a company, much better paying conditions than he was on, and doing something he enjoys doing way more. Win.
But before that, he was trapped.
Yes, exactly.
He was trapped because his estate agent job paid well, and he lived within his means. He bought a house that worked with his pay. Like, because I know this guy as well, I'm not just making it up.
Yeah.
and it's like, and we both said, didn't we? We were like, hats off to you.
Yeah, really proud.
Like, that is so good. It's exactly what we're talking about. Because you're right. My only point here was going to be, be honest with yourself, seriously. Like, because a lot of people that say I'm looking, and when I say what have you looked at, they haven't looked at anything. It's like, you're saying to me you're looking as kind of like a virtue signaling kind of thing.
And next year you'll leave, and next year will be your last year, and next year will be your last year.
And it's like, do you know what? Maybe you just want me to have a little bit of like pity and like help you through this. And it's like, okay, maybe that's what you want. But if you really, really mean it, like you seriously feel trapped, this job is getting you down, like actually look, do everything Dylan just said. And also I'd add to that as well, sit down, write down the pros and cons. Really make sure that's how you feel, because you might think you feel that way. You might just be tired and had a stressful week.
Come back to it the next day, come back to it a week later, come back to it a month later. Make sure it all still makes empirical sense. And
because sometimes even write down the pros and cons allows you to get past that emotional part of your brain. Because you might write it down and realize there's 12 pros for you and only 3 cons. And actually, all of those pros massively outweigh those cons.
And the cons were just on your mind at the time.
Just on your mind, and you realize, oh, actually, all jobs have cons, and I'm actually all right with this. And that thought process, and you're in a better place now, maybe. But it might be the other way around, and then you go back to what Dylan said.
So to summarize, I suppose what we're saying here is, if you feel trapped as a teacher, sometimes you're not trapped. You just want someone to understand that it's really hard in some aspects, but you know what? It's still the job for you. Crack on. That's a feeling that feels like you're trapped, but really, if you actually sit down and look through it, it's where you want to be. It's just that you're looking at the cons. There is another set of people where they really are trapped, and these are the actual steps you can hopefully take to try and help that. Brilliant.
Good. I enjoyed that.
Same. I think that was really nice to talk about, because do you know what? Like I said, we want to be honest. This is something that I've spoken to multiple teachers about. This is the thing. I think this is a conversation where every teacher would have had it, whether it's themselves feeling trapped or a colleague feeling trapped. So I love these conversations where we just, it's not just you. You feel trapped. It's not just you. It's normal. It's completely normal to feel that way.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dylan. I enjoyed that chat a lot. Now, where can people find us?
Get us on Instagram at Teach Sleep Repeat. That's the at apparently.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
At Teach Sleep Repeat Podcast on Instagram. You can also find us on TikTok now. I'll link everything down below in the episode description. A rating is really helpful. And do you know what helps us more than anything? Sharing this with your WhatsApp teacher group or someone who you think might find it useful. Guys, thanks so much for listening. If you got this far, you're a retention legend, because that's how whacking our numbers are. Right,
again, ending it like you started it. You need to go into radio, Mike.
I think I will. See you next time.
Yorkshire. See ya.